Let's pay homage to the lineage gurus. Homage to the Venerable Monk Liao Ming. Homage to Master Sakya Zhengkong. Homage to His Holiness the 16th Karmapa. And homage to Master Tupten Dorji. Homage to the three jewels of the altar. Homage to the main deity of the group practice this evening. Namo 36,119,500 Buddhas with the same name and identification of Amitabha. Homage to Avalokitesvara Bodhisattva. And homage to Mahastama Prapta Bodhisattva. Sumu Tanzen Katso Tuten Siddhi. All Dhamma masters, Dhamma educators, Dhamma teachers, Dharma lecturers, Dhamma assistants, directors of temples and chapters, and all disciples present here and over the internet. Good evening, everyone. How do you do? Aisteru Sarange
Hola amigo.
Hola amigo.
Te quiero mucho.
Te quiero mucho.
Sugoi.
Sugoi.
Ichiban.
Kimochi. Kimochi.
Jumi.
Jumi.
Yapi.
Yapi.
Bling bling.
Bling bling.
Konbanwa.
Konbanwa. At the beginning of today's Dharma teaching, we use a joke as to start. As a boss got drunk from the New Year celebration and boasted that his company will give benefits to all the employees, a gift according to their zodiac, their zodiacs. So the Taurus will be given a cow. For the Aries, they would be given a ram or goat. And for the Pisces, they will be given 2 fish. And Cancer, they'll be given a crab. And there's a male employee that became really ecstatic, and we couldn't understand why. And he said it really loudly, "I'm a Virgo." So, at this beginning, I would like to tell you there are 2 kinds of men. The first kind is the one that loves sex, and the other kind is the one that extremely love, sex, and woman. It was spoken by Nagarjuna Bodhisattva. All sentient beings, if they are held in bondage by their afflictions, then they are called sentient beings, which is beings with emotions. If a sentient being can be liberated from all afflictions, then they'll be called the truly awakened Buddha. So sentient beings, because they have afflictions and being held bondage by their afflictions, they are called sentient beings. However, if sentient beings can liberate themselves from these afflictions, then they would be called the awakened one, the Buddha. This was spoken by Nagarjuna. This is something that you can contemplate on. And today we will continue with the you ask and I answer. Q&A. Homage to our illustrious Guru's Holiness Living Buddha Lian Sheng, Grandmaster, peace with you. With respect to the Taoist practice of Qi An Li Dou, which is enshrining the planetary for peace, recently I noticed that several true Buddha temples and centers are also enshrining the planetary in their repentance ceremonies. And in your book number 40, Book of Spirit Connection, the article on the right of avoiding disasters and death, you mention something similar to this practice of enshrining the planetary, or the Big Dipper constellation. However, you never publicly transmitted it. My questions are: 1. What is the real meaning of this enshrining the Big Dipper constellation? Is our center allowed to do it? In early times, Grandmaster has studied Taoism. And I have the certificate for as a Taoist master. So, Christianity, Taoism, and Buddhism. And Grandmaster have gone through all of them. So what is the real meaning of this Li Qi An Li Dou, which is enshrining the constellation? Actually, it is similar to our Karma Yoga. In Tantrayana, there is the purification, enrichment, magnetization, and subjugation. So the meaning is quite similar. For purifications, enrichments, magnetization, and subjugation. So this is the Tantric Upaya Yoga. So the Taoist Qi An Li Dou are also the worldly practices. So, what is its meaning? Like after purification, you wish for good health. Like you wish for a good career and for a perfect marriage. You wish that everything will go well and smoothly. Or you wish that you can live a long life. This is the meaning of this Qi An Li Dou. And there are even higher meaning, which is say for favorable weather and safe and peaceful countries and wellness for the people. I was in Taiwan, Taichung City, Lixing Street, number 39. That was my house. And I had enshrined a lamp for the Big Dipper. So I did this Qi An Li Dou as well. If someone is encountering great calamity, I would install the Big Dipper lamp for them. The disciples from early times may have seen it. Master Lian Si, Lian Zhu, yes, you have seen it. The Big Dipper lamp. I use an electric cable and I would place a small red light bulb and a very long cable, and I would make the dipper lamp myself. And at the center, I place the Fu, and for their wishes and the prayers. And then place rice at the bottom. According to the Taoist practice, that on top of the rice you have to place 4 things. Anyone knows what they are? I want to test everyone. That's about right. First, next to the dipper lamp, into the rice, a new kitchen knife has to be new, and a new scissors, and a new ruler. What? And a new. What is China? A balance, like a scale, like a balance, you know? It's like the one that's held by a judge. You have to place these 4 things. Kitchen knife, scissors, a ruler, and a balance. These 4 things represent the power of the gods. You have to place all those things. Do they still this scale or balance. So, like the scale, you know, in the past when we go to the market, we use that. Skills. So Sumo has seen it. Sumo has gone to my house at the 39 Lixing Road. My house was there, and in my shrine there, we enshrine all the dipper lamps in front of the shrine. Is our center allowed to do it? I have done it. At that time, I was practicing Taoist practices. That's why I have done it before. And in True Buddha School, in that book of Spirit Connection, there's also the right of avoiding disasters and death. And that's the practices of the Big Dipper constellation. And the sutra that I chanted before is the sutra of the Big Dipper, the 7 stars of the Big Dipper, or the 6 stars in the south. So, in the Taoist temples, they would always have the dipper lamp or the constellation lamp, planetary lamp. Yeah. So, 三光大力, 三元三平, for the heavens, earth, and humans. You have to chant the sutras of the 三元三平, 三光大地 sutra. So if you enshrine the lamp for the Big Dipper, then you have to recite the sutra of the Big Dipper so that they match. So in Taoism, that in Taoist temples, you enshrine the Big Dipper constellation and you recite the Big Dipper Sutra. And who are the Sangguan Dati, the 3 great emperors? Yao belongs to the heaven, and Sun belongs to the earth. The emperor of heaven, the emperor of the earth, and Yu belongs to the water. So 三元三平. So the 3元3平. So the emperor of Yao, the emperor of Sun, and the emperor of Yu. So the 7 stars of the Big Dipper all have names. So if you really studied it, if you really mastered it, of course you can. So actually enshrining the dipper lamp is the same as enshrining the blessing lights. But in Taoism, you have to recite the 参心拜斗, the Li Do, which is the homage to the Big Dipper constellation. So this is a tantric altar, so you you set up the blessing light. That's Tantric Buddhism. Then you recite the Buddhist Sutra. And for the Taoist practices, you recite the Taoist Sutra. So does it comply with the Dharma law? Of course, if you practice the Taoism, that will be fine. But if it's a Tantric altar, then you recite the Tantric sutras. There's a very good sutra, which is Marici Sutra. Inside the sutra, it would comply with this enshrining the Big Dipper constellation. So Marici in Taoism is the also the Dipper planetary mother. So there is some correlation here. So Marici is one of the planetary god. So Qi Li Do, does it have a specific procedure? Of course. Like I just said, you have to have the rice, the name and birth date and time, and then the wishes has to be written on a talisman, has to be read, and there's a parasol on top. Of course, there's the rules. 4 things: knives, scissors, a scale or balance, and ruler. So 4 gods to be enshrined there. And then you have to invite the Taoist master to perform the ritual and to recite the mantra, the Beidou Sutra, the Big Dipper Sutra. Of course, it has a specific procedure. So enshrining the Big Dipper constellation is typically for Taoists. So, of course, there's a procedure for the longevity ritual as well. It's to expand your lifespan. And then there is also deliverance, which is only for the death, but longevity is for the living. So when you perform birth deliverance, that's for the deliverance, for the death, for the deceased. But longevity is for the living. That's the procedure of Medicine Buddha. And there's a procedure for the blessing light too. And there's a procedure for the planet ruler. So if you want to enshrine the Big Dipper constellation, then you have to follow the Taoist procedure. Of course, you cannot use the Buddhist procedure. Otherwise, there would be all mixed. Then like the red bean and mung beans together, that would be like chicken egg, 1,000-year-old egg, and salted egg, and all together becomes the 3-color eggs, but actually it becomes a bastard. It's a play of words in Chinese. So for the Lido, or enshrining the Big Dipper, then you should follow its procedure. The Buddhist one should follow the Buddhist procedure. The third question, can we enshrine it at our own home? You can do it yourself. I can enshrine one dipper lamp or hundreds or thousands of lamps for sentient beings. I can do it. I can do even thousands of them, because if thousands of people are registering themselves, then I have to do them, or hundreds of them. And at the center, I would also enshrine the main dipper, Big Dipper. If you master the Dharma, then of course you can do it at your own altar, or you can do it for your family members. If you understand the Taoist procedure, then you can set up one for yourself at your home. Actually, it looks nice. There will be lots of lamps, lots of lights that's radiating everywhere. Are there any taboos in doing so? Of course. In Taoist practices, we have many taboos. If you're pregnant, then you cannot enter. That's a taboo. If chicken, ducks, dogs, cats, pets all enter into your shrine, those are all taboo. The shrine should be a pure or clean place. Anything impure, you cannot enter. So if you want to fart, you have to fart outside before you enter your shrine. And after you fart, you have to wave your lama skirt. If after you fart and you come in right away, then the fart is still inside your skirt. There are lots of rules in Taoism, lots of taboos. Anything contaminated, anything dirty, like if you want to enshrine this Big Dipper constellation, you have to refrain from meat, eat vegetarian for 3 days or 7 days. That's also one of the rules. You have to eat vegetarian for 3 days or 7 days, and you have to wear the Taoist robe when you chant their sutra. So there are lots of rules and lots of taboos. So when you enshrine the Big Dipper, you have to eat vegetarian food, you have to bathe first and wear the Taoist robe before you get into it. Of course, you cannot have bad odor like from your mouth. Of course, I'm afraid of that too. And you cannot have the atlas feet. In Chinese, it's called the Hong Kong feet. Or if you're bare feet, then it would generate foul smell. Oh no, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas would run away when they smell your foul smell. Not Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, but all the Taoist gods. So those are the answers to those questions. The question from one person, Malaysia, Lian Hua Junlun. The first question. I have a question about death from domain poisoning. Please explain. Thank you. In what situation do we get domain poisoning, and how do we diagnose it? In Taiwan, there is the what's that called? The court physician that especially do autopsy or autopsy. The famous one is called the Yang Re Song. So, you know how they did it is, it's like the forensic doctor. They would taste the water that's generated from the corpse, and that's how they diagnose how that person died. Just tasted that water from the corpse, and they would know what kind of poison that person died from. This person is called 四莲药, like leaping. It's our Dharma teacher. Are you opening a coffin store or a funeral home? Why are you talking about this death from poisoning? How do you diagnose it? It has to be diagnosed by a medical expert. If you're not, how could you? And Grandmaster is not a doctor either. Although I've seen a lot of corpses, but I don't know how they died. You want me to teach you to taste the water from the corpse and then to discern their smell and taste? The poison from the death. Let me tell you that you should learn from the forensic medical expert. Like from Taiwan, he's called Yang Re Song. So he discerned the poison by licking his finger that's been dipped in the water of the corpse. If someone died from domain poisoning, can we still sprinkle the Vajrasanas over the corpse? So death from poisoning is one thing, and sprinkling Vajrasanas are another thing. So any corpses can be sprinkled with Vajrasanas. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether it died from poisoning or not. You always sprinkle Vajrasanas over the corpse. I remember there was a serial TV, 天涯明月刀. Talking about a doctor called Mo Yin. That in Tibet there was a country called Lonan, and so from the transformation of the corpse, it became like a ghost, like a spirit. from the martial arts that he nurtured or enshrined, like this ghostly spirit from the corpse, like that became a zombie. And the zombie especially got the vital energy from the Kung Fu people, so that the zombie generated greater and greater power, that the zombie ate all the Kung Fu masters from all different schools. So if you want to understand the ways of doing this, that you can go to this Nolan country and to become an archaeologist and then dig them out and learn it from it. It's from a novel, like a martial arts novel by Gulong. Grandmaster could have read several Kung Fu or martial arts novels when he was young, several books a day. 天涯明月刀. It's like the knife, the bright moon knife of the world. So the novels that I read was authored by Mao Liu-sen, even earlier. Of Pinjiang Marshes, Gulong or Jingyong, even earlier than these other two orders. So domain poisoning. Of course, you can sprinkle Vajrasense. You can sprinkle Vajrasense over any corpse. How should we treat this domain poisoning? You don't need to handle it. Just sprinkle Vajrasense and help them to chant the Buddha's name or mantra. How should we treat this domain poisoning and what are the symptoms? According to the novel from the C.E. Mo Yun, if you're being bitten and if you don't die, then you would be poisoned as well, and you would become the zombie and eating other people everywhere. So it's written in that novel. So what are the symptoms? I've told you that if you get poisoned by this domain, then you would become a zombie. You're asking this kind of questions? What are you asking? Oh my gosh. By a monk. Luckily, Grandmaster has broad knowledge that I have even read the Kung Fu novels. Like by Gulong, Shi Du Mo Yun. It's like domain zombie, I guess. And Lotus High Tea from Indonesia. Homage to Grandmaster, please advise. An elderly person does not have as good a memory and energy as young people. So is it right to ask them to chant Namo 36,119,500 Buddhas with the same name and identification of Amitabha? Or is there a simpler way for the elderly to practice? Thank you, Grandmaster. Hope this question can help many people. right? For an elderly person to chant Namo 36 trillion 119,500 Buddhas with the same name at the place of Amitabha is right. Because young and strong people and old and weak people. So when you're old, you become weak. If you want him to chant the Buddha's name, of course you can ask him to chant Namo 36 trillion 119,500 Buddhas with the same name at the place of Amitabha. And today is the good practice for Amitabha Buddha. And Grandmaster had chanted Namo 36 trillion 119,500 Buddhas with the same name at the place of Amitabha. That was right, because Grandmaster is not young anymore. Grandmaster is 76 already. When I was 70, I got on the double bars or the single bar. I could perform the dragonfly, a dip on the water many times when I was 70. Now I'm 76. I could still lift myself and hold myself up. I could still hold myself up like the double bars. But I'm already starting to chant it, because sometimes a human being doesn't necessarily live a long life. When you encounter a lot of problems, you don't have time to chant Buddha's name. And you chant Namo 36 trillion 119,500 Buddhas with the same name, identification Amitabha. Of course, that's correct. It can be chanted by young people and old, young and old alike. But for the young people, you can be more down to earth, and you can chant just Namo Amitabha. So this number, 36,119,500 Buddhas, this number came from Grandmaster. And where did Grandmaster get it from? From a sutra. It's not like Nagarjuna. So it's like a Dragon Comfort Pure Land article. In this article, it was written that there was an elderly woman that was chanting Amitabha Buddha, and until she cried and shed tears, because she made a vow that she would chant the Buddha's name for like a barrel of rice. So every time she chanted, she would take one grain of rice from the barrel. And she had to continue to finish all the rice in the barrel before she could die. And every day she chanted and moved the grain of rice until she got really old and weak, and she could not do it anymore, and she was about to die, and there was still over half a barrel of rice. So she begged mercifully to Amitabha Buddha, Avalokitesvara, and Mahastama Prapta Bodhisattvas, and the Bodhisattva gave her instruction that if you just chant Namo 36 trillion 119,500 Buddhas with the same name identification of Amitabha, and then pour the rice from that barrel, then she could die and be reborn into the Amitabha's pure land peacefully. Otherwise, she couldn't finish. So because of that article, Long Su Jing Tu Wen, which is the Pure Land of the Dragon Comfort article. That's why I transmitted this. Nowadays, it's popular out there. Either they have read the same article of the Naga or Dragon Comfort Pure Land, or they copied me because I learned it from the article. So actually, the young people can also chant it, because there are some young people that die young, maybe younger than we do. Look, for the coronavirus, there are many young people who died. So they're catching young people now, in their 20s, even babies, young people, or even teenagers, 20s, 30s. Recently, people who died are in their 20s and 30s. So the coronavirus did not capture me. Why? Because I'm about time. I'm in old age already. It's about the same. So that's why they spared me. It'll be a waste. Don't you think so? That would be a waste looking for me. Just just find those young people. We, the old ones, soon will die. Those coronavirus flying, and they saw me and they just, no use, and turned around and left. Now let me expand on Lamdre. And before the Lamdre teaching, let me share a joke. The son wanted to invite his mom for dinner. And he said, "Mom, I want to invite you for dinner, but I have no money." And mom said the most classic sentence, "What bad luck in my life. I encountered two cheats, two cheaters. Your dad cheated me out of sex and you cheated me out of my money." You understand? The son cheated her for money. He just wants money or free meal. He said that he wanted to invite mom for dinner, but said no money. That's why the mom complained that in bad luck. Nobody laughs, so let me tell another joke then. The teacher asked Xiaoming, "Xiaoming, these few days, how come you don't come to class? You didn't come to class." Xiaoming said, "Oh, I went to the hospital to check legs. To check the legs. So what's wrong with your legs?" And Xiaoming said, "My legs are no good. Are not good looking. I went to see the legs of the nurses." But in Chinese there are no pronouns, so just to check legs, not my legs or their legs. So Xiaoming is very resourceful. He went to the hospitals to check the nurses' legs. I don't know why. In Lamdre, it's written the 7 key points of the actual practice. Point number 3. The 7 key points of the actual practice have been explained in the section on the path, etc., of the common path of rebirth and nirvana. So this has been explained. The 7 key points of the actual practice has been explained in the section on the path, etc., of the common path of rebirth and nirvana. So, have been explained. Let me talk about rebirth and nirvana. Rebirth or reincarnation and nirvana. Rebirth and nirvana. In the topmost realm, that rebirth and nirvana are the same. So rebirth and nirvana are the same. So has Grandmaster Lu in nirvana? Because Grandmaster Lu has a Dharmakaya in the Mahatwin lotus ponds, and that Dharmakaya is in the state of nirvana. And Grandmaster Lu that is now giving Dharma teaching is the rebirth Grandmaster Lu, the reborn Grandmaster Lu. The Dharmakaya or Dharma body is above the heavens, and the rebirth is inside the earth, on earth. So rebirth and nirvana are the same, no differences. If there is a difference, then it's in the process of spiritual cultivation. It's just a term during the process of the spiritual cultivation. So actually rebirth and nirvana are just terms. All these terms are just the terms of the actual practice. The key points of the 7, the key points is the Buddha nature. In Tantrayana, or Buddha nature, or the nature of the mind, that's all just terms as well. Therefore, it's impossible to use words to express it, or language. It's impossible to use words and language to explain the highest realm. That names and terms are just terms, like rebirth, nirvana, Dharma body, the true face, all refer to the Buddha nature. The true face. Once you reach that realm, you will naturally know it. Key points of the 70 pith instructions. To instruct on the key points of the 70 pith instructions, the verse states the 7 kinds of the assimilation of the 10 basic qi. There are 7 classes for each qi. The name, place of abiding, work to be done, what kind of pain, meditation generated, ailment due to accumulated blockages, and practicing the skillful means. The key points of the 70 pith instructions. And the verse states the 7 kinds of the assimilation of the 10 basic qi. And the 7 classes are the name, place of abiding, work to be done, what kind of pain, meditation generated, the ailment due to accumulated blockages, practicing the skillful means. Those are all terms. There would be explanation. Of this, the first 3, name, place of abiding, and work to be done, are the ordinary concept. The following 2, pain of upholding and meditation generated, are the meditation of practicing the path. And the pain, what kind of pain is the bodily sensation, and the meditation generated is the mind sensation, and the ailment due to accumulated blockages is the major kind of bodily chaotic disorder. Also, the key points of the 35 pith instructions of the 5 basic qi are the name, upholding life qi, water qi. Like what we said, where are the qi? 5 kinds of qi. Upper qi, lower qi, life qi, fire accompanying qi, peripheral qi. These are the 5 basic qi. And the name, upholding life qi. It's at the heart chakra. The life qi is at the heart chakra. And the place of abiding is at the life channel. So the life qi is at the life channel, and the life channel is at the heart chakra. Work to be done, body and mind inseparable, ego creation and ego attachment. So, the work to be done is the body and mind inseparable. What does it mean? Because our body is the spiritual center, and the Buddha nature is also the spiritual center. It's also inside the spiritual center. That's why we say body and mind inseparable. Inseparable body and mind. And the Buddha nature is inside the life channel. Ego creation and ego attachment. So becomes self with form and self with attachments. So the I that has form and actions, and that's called the karma. So the pain is weak heart, dumping, pain in upper body, short breath. Those are the areas of the pain. So when you practice qi, this will happen too. That the qi is weak or thumping or pain in upper body, or you have short breath, right? When you inhale the breath and hold the breath, and then exhale the breath, and you shoot the qi. When you expelled it forcefully, there would be sound, and you would and you would gasp or pant. You would pant. And meditation generated is a long, lucid and empty meditation. What does it mean? Between one thought and another, that's called the lucid and empty meditation. When you have a thought arising and disconnected from the next thought, when it's empty in between, it's called the lucid and empty meditation. So what I taught is the extreme extinction, and there is a time lapse, and at this time lapse it's called the lucid and empty meditation. The ailments of the mind qi. We often say that if the mind is at an even keel, then the qi is harmonious. Like when your mind is serene, when you have no thoughts, then your qi is very calm. Like if you have a thought that makes you agitated, then that would be the ailments of the mind qi. Nowadays we call it it's OCD, I believe. OCD, compulsive disorder. And in meditation term, it's actually too uptight, so you cannot settle down. So your mind cannot reach meditative stabilization, and the qi cannot be calm. And practicing the skillful means is practicing the three Dharma practices of decisiveness, blessings, and bliss. So the skillful means practice. So bliss is a kind of sensation and also skillful means and also blessings. Why do we say that bliss is a blessing? Because when you experience bliss, that means you have improved, and that is a blessing. If you cannot feel the bliss, then everything is an ailment. You have to experience the bliss, because when the qi is opening the channels, the inner fire opening the channels, and the light drops opening the channels, that would generate bliss. And I said there are four kinds of bliss: the initial bliss, the superior bliss, the supreme bliss, and the innate bliss. Four kinds of bliss. So bliss practice is also a way, or blessing is also a way, or decisiveness. When you have mastered the key formulas, you have the decisiveness. And the name is the uniform fire qi, that's inner fire, or the fire accompanying qi. And the place is at the navel chakra. When you practice meditation and inner fire, it's at the navel area. That's the meaning. And place the work is for food digestion. Like when you eat and you want to ignite the inner fire, what should you eat? What should you eat to ignite the inner fire? You have to know. In the past, Master Tupten Tarji told me that I have to eat the testicles, which is hormones. So the hormones is to digest food. You have to digest food containing hormones. Pain. If you eat those food, and you would have bloated stomach and suffocating, or burping. So the qi is coming out from the throat, burping. A bloated stomach, that would generate pain. So as a tantrika, we have to remember when we eat. What should we remember? You have to adjust your diet that is suitable for yourself and able to ignite the inner fire. You have to pay attention to the problems that arise and avoid them, like bloated stomach and burping. You have to stop what caused those. Meditation generated a short meditation of bliss and emptiness. Meditation of bliss and emptiness generates a short meditation of bliss and emptiness. I remember the inner fire meditation of Vajravarahi. During the Vajravarahi's inner fire meditation, you would generate the meditation of bliss and emptiness. When you meditate and have Vajravarahi as your yidam, and you ignite the inner fire, and when the inner fire is opening the channels, it would generate bliss. And bliss is not concrete, it's a kind of emptiness. That's why it's called the meditation of bliss and emptiness. So many explanations. I'll just finish this page. The ailments due to accumulated blockages is the water retention due to kidneys. It's a kind of illness. Too much water that causes water retention, like swollen. So for a sadhaka is the accumulation of water and fire. So if the light drops are too much, then it would cause the water retentions of the kidneys. And if there's too much inner fire, then you would feel the the anxiety, the anxiousness, the impure fire or heat generated that would cause you anxiety. So there's ailment due to water and fire or fire. And practicing the skillful means as above, which is practicing the three Dhamma practices of decisiveness, blessings, and bliss. The name is lower chi. The place of abiding is the secret area. So where is the lower chi? At the secret area. And the work to be done, of course, around the secret area is the pu and pi. So the work for the secret area is holding and releasing the feces and urine. So it talks about all the different qi. That's all for today. What it's talking about actually, like qi, the upper qi is in charge of the upper part, and the lower chi is in charge of the lower part. The life chi is in charge of things related to the life chi, and the peripheral chi and the fire accompanying chi, etc. And our body is utilizing this chi to practice meditation. So this chi channels and light drops to practice meditation. So that's what it's talking about here. And also like the problems or the ailments, where they are, the work to be done, the pain, the meditation. It's talking about that from the upper chi and what kind of work it's doing, and then the life chi and the fire chi and the lower chi. So it's talking about all those. Interviewing for a job, the manager asks, "Why do you come to interview at our company?" And the answer, "For my meals, 3 times a day, like for my food." Don't you have a dream? Sure, my dream is not to work. And the boss said, "Next." If you don't have to work and then you have food on your table, what a lazy guy. The boss said to the fired employee, "I heard that you are going to spit at my tomb after I die." And the fired employee said, "Don't worry, I've changed my mind because I don't want to wait so long." So that showed that the boss must not be good, because everybody's lining up to spit at his tomb. The wife and husbands are fighting, and when they got home, the wife was dragging her face sternly, so the husband was trying to find a and play with the cat. And the wife shouted, "Why are you playing with the pig?" And the husband was surprised and said, "Hey, that's a cat, not a pig. Come on, I'm talking to the cat." Sorry to interrupt. Pig. That's a curse. There are lots of benefits to a pig. Everything about the pig is useful, including use to curse on people. I registered myself for a class to court a woman, and after the first class, my registration fee was returned, and the teacher said, "You're very good already. Everything is good." So after our meeting, and we discussed it, and we found that you should have spent your money instead on plastic surgery. Now it's like this. All these jokes are very meaningful. It would incite another meaning from it. So when we listen to Buddha Dharma, when we listen to Lamdre, we need to understand the words between lines, or the sound beyond this. So when Grandmaster was studying Buddhism, listening to my guru, you need to understand the words, the meaning beyond it. In Lamdre, there are many of those. When they're talking about these things, what did they mean? What did it mean? We make use of our body's chi channels and light drops to practice our own, we can say, spirit. We say that this is the foul back sack of skin, and the chi channels and light drop inside it to practice or to realize our real self. So we practice from the tangible to the intangible. We practice from the rebirth to this nirvana. Then you can understand it all at that time. So we practice from the body to the mind, and from the mind to confirm your own nature of the mind, or your own Buddha nature, to reach eternity. Otherwise, when we look at the world, like I said at the dinner table, China and US are now countering each other. You know, the martial art novels have said it very clearly. Everybody wants to be the superpower, the number one. And America has recruited the 6 different huge groups, because the opponent is a very powerful enemy. So they try to gather alliances and then fighting it. It's like all the fights in the Kung Fu movies. So those are the fine prints, the sounds beyond the voices. No other reasons, right? Just because they want to be the number one. Just for us spiritual cultivators, we can just live very, very freely and comfortably out there. Why do we care about being number one or being the head?